like, bro.
She got a kid. Look at his back. Oh my god. Welcome back to another reaction. Today we're going to be reacting to Jordan Peterson calmly dismantles feminism in front of two feminists. Dismantling, or is he just stating the facts and you get upset?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, these YouTube, they be hyping him up, but I never really see Jordan Peterson kind of come at people. He always, it's like education. It's like education.
Right. He's just telling you what you need to know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not like Ben Shapiro.
It's not making you feel stupid.
Sometimes you can feel like, it does feel like Ben Shapiro's coming at people.
Yeah,
Why he almost got choked out by that transgender on that show.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. He's like, what's your chromosomes? I had to watch it again when I heard him say it. I'm like, why would you just answer that? Like, come on, bro. But yeah, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, man. It's 10K subscribers. Wait for now, right to us.
One of our guests of the day, the other one today, is a man you may recognise, or maybe you don't. Jordan Peterson has achieved that rare feat, becoming a global superstar academic. So how did he become so well known? He first came to national prominence in Canada in 2016 in a debate about new laws on gender identity. Bill C-16 made it an offence to refuse to call someone by their chosen gender pronoun. Jordan Peterson argued that this would infringe free speech, while some supporters of the bill said he was advocating prejudice. From there, his YouTube star took off, and he has now over 1 million subscribers. And his videos, where he talks everything from identity politics, which we've touched on, to the Bible, to Disney movies, have been viewed over 150 million times. Gosh, that's about the same number of viewers we have on this program. Last year, he supported ex-Google employee James Damore, who had been fired for suggesting men and women have different interests due to biological differences. And his latest book, 12 Rules for Life, has taken him on a global tour promoting his ideas. And just this week, he sold out the 1,000-seater Emmanuel Centre around the corner here in Westminster. So Jordan, you've done endless interviews. You've been publicising your book, and they've generated plenty of heated debate.
And I actually sold out the Apollo. It had 5,000 seats.
All right, stop boasting. Do you think, though, because of the heat that has been generated, that your views have been misrepresented at times?
Oh, definitely, but that's, that's part and parcel of the process. I did take a very forceful stance, let's say, against some of the excesses of the radical left-wingers, and it's in their best interest to paint me as somehow a figure of the extreme right, because then I don't have to be contended with. But, I mean, it's easy for people's views to be oversimplified in a very large public debate.
I mean, in terms of some of the issues, and you say you've been painted as an extreme right-winger.
No, some people have tried that. Not very successfully, but they've tried it.
And you came to prominence in part over your opposition to this law that we just talked about in Canada, proposing the use of preferred pronouns for transgender people. Just for clarity.
Mandating them.
Yeah.
Right.
Saying that you should do it.
No, that you had to do it.
Right, you had to do it by law. Right. But just for clarity, do you think a trans woman is a real woman?
I don't really like the way those questions are formulated. I don't know what that means. What do you mean a real woman?
Well, I'm asking you, in your mind, it depends what you think a real woman is, but do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome, and I think the biological markers are relevant. It doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think that people should be treated with respect and dignity if they happen not to fit easily into a gender category. That's a different issue.
Right.
But it's a matter of definition, and I actually think it's a foolish argument in some sense, because what do you mean by real?
Well, I mean, you've just clarified that, though. You don't think that a trans woman is a woman, and do you think that is what is behind or explains your opposition to this idea of a law mandating you to use a preferred pronoun, is because you don't actually believe that that's the truth, that a trans woman is a woman, and therefore you can't use that pronoun?
No, that's not my argument at all.
Really?
Yeah, really. My argument is that
I know what your argument is.
voluntary speech.
No, but I know what your argument is, and
No,
you've
but
made
that's
it very
really
clearly.
it.
But
But that's
behind
exactly it. There's
the
no
motivation
there's no
behind
motivation behind it.
But you don't believe
I wouldn't
a trans
put
woman is a
everything
woman.
on my online in my life to take the stance I did, unless I had thought that through very deeply. And I've thought it through very deeply. There aren't hidden motivations that have to do with some arbitrary prejudice against
there's no deep
It's
thoughts.
pure and simply this. There's never been a time in English common law history where the government compelled speech, and the Canadian government dared to do that. And that was unacceptable. And they masked it with this show of compassion for the oppressed, and I don't buy it.
Right, but you would, as I think you said, at an individual level, if somebody asked you, somebody asked you to use a particular pronoun, you would do so.
Well, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Right, fine.
Yes.
Let's talk about feminism. Are you a feminist?
No, not as it's currently defined, certainly not.
No, well, in any other definition?
Well, I think that anybody who doesn't think that the competitive landscape should be opened up for equality of opportunity is not thinking. And so everyone's interests are better served if people have as equal access to opportunity to display their talents and to manifest their talents in the world as possible. So in that sense, certainly. But feminism now, as far, and this is why it's so deeply unpopular, a very small minority of women in the UK identify as feminists. And the reason for that is it's primarily become an ideological weapon. And it's an ideology that I detest, actually, the ideology that it's associated with, collectivist ideology.
Right, I mean, okay, and that's your view about feminism. Are you a feminist?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a very proud feminist, and when I was a special advisor in government, I worked on women and equality issues, and I'm very proud, actually, of a piece of legislation I got on the statute book with my former boss Harriet Harman, the Equality Act in 2010, which strengthened our anti-discrimination laws. And I fought very hard to get more women into public life, into the Labour Party, and I'm very, very proud of being a feminist, hence my pink dress.
Oh, well, all right. Obviously
You fought
reverting
to
to
get a man?
type.
Did a woman want to do this?
Well, you would like men to
Did he want to do this?
regain
Or is
reclaim
there a reason why
their
more men
strength
choose to do these
physically,
jobs?
mentally, and morally. Is that broadly correct?
I would say morally, fundamentally, but I think the other things go along with that.
Right, and if that
But it isn't men precisely who I'm speaking to. It's people. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm actually interested in individuals, and I'm interested in their fortification against tragedy. You know, every time I do an interview, the interview is always political. It's always political.
Well, the clue is in the title of this program. We are the Daily
Oh, no,
Politics.
fair enough. No, fair enough. And I'm not casting aspersions at this program, but the fundamental news that's important about what I'm doing isn't the political element. And the people who talk to me don't talk politically. They say they've watched my lectures.
But part
and
of
that
it is that I think for a lot of people,
cut 'em off
kind of
and
personal
talk.
does become the political.
Look at his face.
Yeah, and I think in
I
terms
look
of
his face is in the shadows. You look like Batman.
what's happening is people
Like an utter trash that's come out
and
their
as a
mouth.
consequence, their lives are improving dramatically.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I'm sure people are like, have had a huge conversion after, and they're
not a
much
conversion.
happier once
It's not
they've
a
been.
conversion.
But
It's an
what I would
attempt.
like to do is kind of almost. I think at the moment the discussion about feminism is very divisive, and sometimes it can sort of be like, okay, men have to lose and women have to gain. Actually, everybody has a lot to gain by greater equality. Now, whether you get the equality of outcome that you want, I think only time will tell. But certainly, equality of opportunity is very important. And actually,
we can agree
a
on that.
lot of men would benefit from that. So I think a lot of men.
Well, yeah, Jordan Peterson, he's basically saying that he doesn't have like any second thoughts about calling people what they want. You know what I mean? If he sees something, he's basically
Yeah, if it's like a
saying,
personal
like,
relationship and I know you,
Yeah.
I know he's a student, I can call you what you are. I'm not gonna guess. Like I can't read your thoughts, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing, I think they're starting to talk about like women in the workforce and like the different opportunities. Look, I'm starting to see a lot of women I came into contact with. They're hardworking, very much capable of getting opportunities they want to strive for. If you're willing to work for it, you can get it, man. Especially if you live in a country like the United States or something like that. It's not necessarily, it's not the 60s. They're not saying coloreds only. We don't want you here. You have to walk 6 blocks to use the bathroom.
Men are having a lot of crises at the moment in terms of mental health, suicide issues, their own sense of identity, because I think some of the stereotypes put on men are quite limiting for them as well. I think they make men quite unhappy as well.
The devil's in the details with regards to equality, because I'm an advocate of equality of opportunity. But
And
I think
outcomes.
the idea outcomes, that's an appalling doctrine.
Why?
All right, well,
Because you have to produce an unbelievably potent bureaucracy to make the ever greater and ever finer distinctions that are necessary to enforce equality of outcome. How many group differences are you going to equalize across? Is it just gender and sex? How many genders?
No, so-
gender and ethnicity? How many genders?
I think
How many
what
ethnicities?
people are-
How many races?
We'll let Aisha answer.
I think what people are trying
Hold
to
on,
do
you should
with this,
answer
and
it. You
certainly
cut him off
somebody
4 times?
who has looked to sort of do this myself. I think you set yourself ambitions for what you would like to see, and then you try and remove as many of the structural barriers and obstacles. So you try and create that fair crack of the whip and that equality of opportunity to see where you get to with the outcomes.
That's
now
fine.
we are in very early stages. It's only 100 years since women got the vote in this country. We have had a long established patriarchal society and set up for a long time in the world in this country. So I think we have a long way to go to see where it plays out. There is no country in the world where we really do have gender equality properly yet in terms of real decision making and real
Some of the
power.
Scandinavian countries,
But
maybe.
Manager
there's
is
still
female.
not
She's
quite
talking
there.
about,
I think
like,
we've
what he
spoken a lot about
calling?
this. There's still a way to go in Scandinavia. Things are not perfect
Well,
in
I
Scandinavia
haven't
at
spoken
all.
about that specifically. I've spoken about
What decisions are being made without women? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Decisions weird. What? What are these positions?
Men
What are these positions that need to be occupied by women? There's not enough of. What? Is there not enough male teachers now too?
Is there not enough
We're gonna
male
start fighting for
nurses?
male- Yeah.
Because
Exactly, bro.
Yeah, because there's women in the Senate. There's women everywhere.
Exactly.
I
But-
mean, I don't.
There's women working.
But if like say a man
At
does
the Pentagon?
does waxing or stuff, he's considered more feminine. Like what are
Yeah, like
all types of jobs are just labeled as feminine or
masculine.
Like a female construction worker.
like you doing the trade. Like, is that a masculine job? Is that
Exactly.
just a job for men?
I guess it's all very one-sided. Stage of construction.
Well, I've spoken about the fact that, you see, one of the things that's happened in the analysis of the differences between men and women is that the social constructionist claim is that the differences are socially constructed, right? Is that it's a consequence of environment that men and women differ. But what the scientific literature indicates is that as cultures become more egalitarian, like they have in Scandinavia, the differences between men and women actually increase rather than decreasing, which is a direct repost to the social constructionist view. So they just deny all that. The biggest differences in the world in interest and temperament are between Scandinavian men and women. It's exactly the opposite of what everyone predicted.
Can I just pick up on one thing you said a little earlier in the interview, which you said it's the moral guidance that you are focused on. You think that is particularly important. How do you square that with the behavior of perhaps arguably, a prominent alpha male president of the United States, Donald Trump, when his behavior, he is accused of having an affair with a porn star when his wife was pregnant. How does that fit with morally
Bill Clinton.
reclaiming
John F. Kennedy, come on, man.
Immoral.
Right.
Yeah,
But you
not
would still,
to be a target for emulation.
but you
not
still would
something
have
to
voted
pursue.
for him over
Well,
Hillary
to be fair,
Clinton
there was-
as
to be
an
fair, though-
identity politics. It's just how do
It
you
was on the table, and I said I might have voted for him on a whim. That's
But you
all.
also did say you started out feeling quite close to Hillary Clinton. Can I just come on the
very quickly, 'cause
just
we've got to
quickly,
move on.
in a way, I don't
Tag teaming
care
them.
what Trump
I know,
does in
like,
terms of his
and I see how to get him sitting in between, so he can go back and forth. So you gotta keep turning like this.
Turning around.
Like you can see it every time I interrupt him. He turns like this, and he's like,
It's like ready to escape.
like, I can't imagine how much patience this man has because I couldn't handle it.
Because if he acted
I'm
up,
like-
no one
I-
would take him serious then.
Yeah, could it be like, oh, you're just a yeah.
You just getting overwhelmed and stuff by the questions. It's like they're not giving an
Yeah, they're trying to
opportunity
get him
to
out of his
talk.
comfort space.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is why I like Jordan Peterson. He's very good at keeping us calm, keeping
Cool,
the
calm,
facts straight.
collective.
Yeah. This is why this is probably what led him to rehab. Y'all drove this nigga crazy.
It's him stopping, or potentially stopping other women having agency over their reproductive rights, and lots of men taking those decisions.
It's
for
all
example.
about where the moral outrage lies and what's more morally outrageous in people's eyes. Is it his behaviour or the identity politics for you on the... Anyway, we'll have to discuss this another time.
Wow. Didn't even give him the time to respond. That's crazy. That's
That's
crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson, he knows how to. He knows his facts, and he knows like.
He knows where he stands. He knows where he stands. He's very articulate with the information he has.
That's why it's so easy for him to speak because he's not lying. Like that's how he
Yeah.
actually thinks.
And it's a team sport, even if
And it's not
people are
based
being
on
rude.
and it's not based on crap and
opinions.
baseless information and opinions. Like half of these arguments are. Like you said, as the countries became more equal, the women and the men were able to decide what jobs wanted to do, and they chose the jobs which resonate with their gender more, obviously. Nurses,
So
If you enjoyed this reaction, make sure to like, subscribe, and share, man. Let us know if you want to see more Jordan Peterson reactions, comments. It's a road to 10K subscribers. We'll see you next time with B. Peace.
Peace.